Hello, everyone. We are so glad you are here for this episode 0. So this means this is like our prequel. This is our
The prequel. You're getting in at the ground level. This is your backstage pass.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
This is the behind the scenes of Michael and Christina Ryan. So kind of the purpose of today is to better help you understand who we are as people and where we've come from, because it's easy to look at someone's chapter 10 and compare it to your chapter 0, right? Your chapter 1 before you've even opened the first page of the book, right? So I think a lot of us get discouraged when we're thinking about where we want to go. You might even look at us, not that we're super far along, but you might think, man, they've just always been doing these things or always had it easy. Life is such a journey. And so this episode is to help you understand where we've come from and encourage you wherever you're at on your journey.
Yeah, and one of the most helpful things to remember and one of the most detrimental things to forget is that comparison that you were just talking about. Who was it that said, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10?
I don't know, but I love it. It's so good.
But that, especially in this journey, I feel like that's a huge pitfall and has been for us, or for me at least. Yeah. And it's tough because a lot of it depends on when somebody decides to hit record for the first time. Like, as we share our story, if we had started recording when we lived in Seattle or when we lived in our first apartment, if we had hit record then, maybe you wouldn't feel like we're further along than you, but also nobody would watch it because it'd be like, you guys aren't doing it. So there's this like tension between, we could have started recording then and had 10 years of stuff so that nobody would think we have it all together. But also we wouldn't have had much to share because we weren't doing as much as we are now.
Yeah, right.
So now that we've taken a few steps in the journey, we feel like now's the time to hit record and share, not because we have it all together, but if we're one step further along than somebody else, they might feel like, oh my gosh, they have this that I don't have, so I can't do anything. And I feel like that's part of the heart behind sharing our story today, and specifically breaking into the chapters as it relates to the different homes we've lived in, because this is the Home Centered Life podcast. We're talking about how we lived that out in each of the different chapters. So it is a little bit of who we are, but it's more like a lot of start wherever you are. There's a lot of the steps that we took in tiny apartments or townhouses with no yard, really. And that's kind of the heart behind this. To share a little bit of our story so you know who we are, but also more of an overarching theme of, as much as you can, just start where you are.
Well, and I think the purpose of this podcast and the purpose of living a home-centered life, it doesn't even really matter what your home looks like or where you are, because I think the heart behind a home-centered life is choosing to opt out of the hurry, of the busy, of the noise, of the, families that can never sit down at the table together, because they've chosen to do too many things outside of the home. Or I think that's what we desire in this podcast is, whether you're single and living by yourself in a studio apartment, or, you have 10 children and you have 100 acres, it doesn't really matter. It's about, hopefully journeying alongside people with similar hearts to live a set apart life. At least that's our heart and our vision for our life. And I think one thing too that we talk a lot about is creating a sanctuary in our home. And we say it's for us, but it's for other people. And we're super introverted, and I feel like we get that way more and more as we get older. But I think when your home is a sanctuary and where it's a place of rest and peace and joy and love and hope, then you can go out when you do go out into the world, so to speak, and you can show up so much better, and you're showing up better for the people in your life, whether it's at the gas station or, in your school or in your workplace. So I think that's the other thing I want to encourage you all is, this is about, again, not what your home looks like, but about living a home-centered life wherever you are. Yeah. So with that being said, what are you going to?
Well, I was just going to piggyback on that and say, I saw an Instagram post the other day, and I can't remember the actual handle, but the theme of that particular person's post was their homesteading, homemaking in their tiny apartment.
Yeah.
That's their whole thing is you can do it in a tiny apartment. And I think we did an okay job of that.
Yeah.
But looking backwards, I'm like, oh, we could have done so much more.
Yeah. It's right. It's a mindset, I think, about like, what can you do? I think I've fallen into that in times where it's like, oh, well, I got to wait until we have the 100 acres. And I mean, even though we have almost 16 acres here, I find myself being like, well, we'll wait until the next property for this. Right. So,
that was that clickbaity title of that YouTube video. We've been lied to. And then the whole point was we lied to ourselves about what has to happen before you can start living this life. Yeah. And even though I hated that video, the message was we kind of formed this idea in our mind. And then if we don't have that, we don't have the bank barn that's painted red. We don't have the 2-story white farmhouse with a wraparound porch. So we can't do anything.
Right.
But that sort of self-disqualification is really hard to push back against until you are a little farther, and then you look back, you're like, we could have totally had chickens at the North Plains house. We totally could have done chickens. But I didn't think we could. Because I had it in my mind. Well, this is what it takes to have chickens.
Right.
Well, I know now.
That
was not accurate.
So okay, so who are we? So we are married. So first of all, we're not just cousins. We're
not just cousins.
We have the same last name. No. So Michael and I have been married now. Just clarifying.
Why would anybody think that?
Well, I don't know. Just
you
in
guys
case.
Look like
cousins. I'm just for all those people out there that thought maybe we were just cousins. Yeah. Show it off, babe.
Well, so that's a little bit about what the podcast is about and why we're doing this episode. But before we dive into our story, who the heck are we? Yeah. Michael and Christina Ryan. Married.
We're married.
Currently 2 kids.
Yep.
It'll
2 kiddos.
A decade of marriage this coming November. Which is crazy.
Yeah. We, we'll mention this in another episode, but we did decide to wait a long time to have kids. And that's a big part of why we are the way we are today, because we recognized, I know I needed to do a lot of work. I do a lot of work on myself and invite a lot of healing into my life before I could invite children in. And so we journeyed alongside each other as we worked through our own stuff. And I feel like now that we've got it all figured out, but I'm so thankful that we waited. So now we're just pushing out the kiddos, trying
just
to
crank
them out. So we're super thankful. We have a little girl and a little boy as of almost 9 weeks ago. So you'll probably be seeing him in the wrap in future episodes. So So we're currently living in. We do have a 2-story farmhouse. Now we do, but
it is the dream. It's just not required.
So in Wisconsin, and we have just under 16 acres. But even hearing that, you're like, oh man, you have all this space. But we're already learning. We've learned so much on this property, so we homestead, and we have mostly just a lot of chickens right now, and dogs and cats and a goose and guineas. Yeah, we should have a whole episode on guineas. That's seriously though.
I don't want to talk about it.
So I'm full-time stay-at-home mama. And Michael, what do you do?
I am a consultant for coffee companies, coffee shops, coffee roasteries, but it's 99.9% virtual. Since 2020, really. And so we don't really travel that much anymore. Used to do site visits for clients, used to do trade shows, speaking, teaching, a lot of that stuff. But more and more, I mean, being introverted is part of, it's woven into the story. It's woven into the motivation to live a homesteader life. It's not that, but it's not, it's partially because my work is extremely extroverted, even though I'm not traveling anymore. I'm talking to people all day.
Yeah.
And so a home-centered life, a home that's a sanctuary, to strike out from that sanctuary and come back to that sanctuary, even if it's just virtually, is a huge part of what we do. But yeah, I have my own consulting business, but I get to stay home. Yeah. We have 16 acres. And how much of it's usable right now?
Yeah, probably about 1.5 acres, maybe.
Right.
So usable meaning we live basically into a hill, but it's like really steep, and it's
super steep,
full of just briars and black walnut trees, which those are just, it's hard. And so we've already learned, like, oh man, okay, our next property, which we're working towards currently, we hope to be a lot flatter. And again, like we're already learning about how we could do a lot more here, but there's some things that we're choosing to move away from. Hopefully in the next 6 months is sort of the goal. But again, we're learning what we can do here and trying to push the boundaries of that as much as we can. So we have land now, but we started, so we met in Seattle.
This is kind of chapter 1
this
of
is
the story.
Chapter 1, So chapter 1 was just right after college. I moved to Seattle. I felt called to move there. Being a Wisconsin girl, I'd never even been anywhere close to the Pacific Northwest, and just felt like Seattle was the place. And I grew up on a farm here, but I just felt like Seattle was the place I was supposed to be. And
a conventional farm, right.
Well,
I just think it's because people hear, oh, you already knew how to farm and homestead.
That's good. Yeah.
Or like when I say my dad, remodeled our house. Oh, you already knew how to use all the tools. Not really.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
A farm and it's a conventional farm. True. Yeah. I didn't have anything to do with it really. No. So I moved to Seattle, and then I started working for an organization for adults with developmental disabilities, and lived in that home and worked alongside these people. And it was beautiful and wonderful and really hard. And Michael was a volunteer there. So he was there once a week, scrubbing toilets and washing dishes and sweeping the floors. And, we can do a whole nother episode on our love story once you care enough to hear about it. but we fell in love.
A special episode 100 once we have a certain number of subscribers.
So Seattle was super far cry from where we're at now. And we quickly realized we didn't want to be there.
I just remembered though, two things. One is when we were living in Seattle, I was trying to compost.
Oh, yeah.
At least once, maybe twice, total fails.
Yeah.
So I'm not M.I. Gardner, that's for sure. But I did like the whole thing. Like I collected all the chicken scraps because I lived in a house with 4 other guys, 5 total, including me. And I got like a trash can and drilled a bunch of holes in it and and tried to compost there. Yeah. It was also it was at that house, the last place I lived in Seattle, at that house with those guys, that somebody first showed me the difference between store-bought eggs and like pasture-raised eggs.
That's cool.
Because we were making breakfast and like my store-bought eggs were pale yellow.
Yeah.
And somebody else cracked an egg in the pan. It was like just deep, bright, vibrant orange. It was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
So even then,
that's good.
There were echoes of, little seeds being planted.
That's good.
But Seattle was not the place for either of us.
Yeah, you were there about 3.5 years, right? And then I think I was only there like a year total. Yep. And we got engaged and then moved to Portland.
Got the heck out of there.
Yeah. So I lived with your parents for a little minute before we were married. And then once we got married,
in between chapters 1 and 2.
Yeah. Little
with my
stint
parents.
with your parents.
I worked at 2 different coffee companies simultaneously.
Yeah. That was so
looking
fun.
for a more permanent job.
Yeah. And then we ended up in Hillsboro, Oregon. And we found our first little apartment.
Chapter 2.
Yeah. Chapter 2. So I think we had like 2 bedrooms, which was, we got like a rent special because it was like a brand new building.
It was a brand new building.
So we got in on the ground floor.
$500 off a month, which is
that was
a ton.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's also why we didn't stay. For a year because they jacked the rent. After that.
Yeah. So one of the things that like we have woven into our at-home rhythm started for you at this first apartment, which was working out. Period. But we choose to work out at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, and the working out at home is intentional, and it's part of, and it ends up being part of living a home-centered life. But a lot of people, and I think I was like this too, so there's no guilt or shame or judgment. A lot of people, when they think of taking care of their physical body or working out or exercise, the thing that pops into their head, kind of like with homesteading, where it's like homesteading. Oh, a barn, a 2-story farmhouse, wraparound, like fences already there.
Yeah.
Everything. That's what pops into people's heads, and I think the same thing can happen, or at least happen with me, when it came to being like physically fit or exercising on a regular basis. Like, oh, you mean go for an hour-long run every day, or oh, you mean go to the gym.
Yeah.
But you set the example of just like doing stuff at home. And I saw that. And at first I was like, being the grumbly guy that I sometimes can be. And then you found a website that allowed you to kind of change the parameters of what you were looking for. And I changed all the parameters. So it basically found me like a 3-minute long warm-up video. And like, that was my working out in the one spare bedroom in our one apartment. And then eventually it was like a 5-minute workout, but it was always like a 1 out of 5 difficulty. And then it was a 10, and it slowly built over time. But one of the things I think is helpful, especially for folks who have this grandiose idea of what it means to exercise or work out, it doesn't have to be CrossFit or an hour-long run or going to a gym. It can just be a 3-minute warm-up. Yeah. Especially if you're starting from basic zero, which is where I was at. Yeah. Or like a 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
Or
totally.
One of the videos on that platform is the scientific 7-minute workout.
Yeah.
Which like tackles every muscle group in 7 minutes. So I think a lot of times when people say like, oh, I don't have time for that, they don't have time for the thing they're thinking of.
Yeah.
But instead of questioning it, they're just like, oh, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, well, what am I, is the thing I'm thinking of actually required?
Yeah.
Do you have to go to lift weights for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's not how I started out. But that was one of the big chapters. I think the other thing that we did at that particular apartment was using the back patio.
Yeah.
To grow stuff.
A few things. I don't even remember what I tried.
It was like a little balcony.
Yeah, a balcony.
North facing though, which I didn't even know at the time.
Yeah.
I'm just now realizing as I look backwards, like, no wonder nothing worked. Because it was pointed north.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried.
Got a south facing.
Well,
balcony.
I think the other thing that I was remembering that, so we had one car, which we still only have one car, but it was one car that was
half of a car.
Well, yeah. So it was a car that was stick shift, and I never learned how. And
I'm apparently not a good teacher.
No, I don't know. I think I was a terrible learner. But so we had this car that only Michael drove. So I walked and rode the transit system and took the bus to get groceries. And I started buying in bulk at this place and then I would, carry the groceries home, and I would, that was like part of my workout, was just carrying our groceries from however far the bus dropped me off. But part of it was that desire, even from being a young married couple, to make our meals at home. Not that we didn't, get takeout every now and then, but we weren't like eating ramen noodles every night. We were right from the get-go making homemade things. And, I didn't know a lot then, but we were still doing that, So I think it starts with that for a lot of people.
I even did that a little bit when I was single.
Totally.
I think I intuitively knew that was better for me than eating out every night.
Yeah.
I know there's a million reasons why people would eat out on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I think most people intuitively know that's probably not the best thing for their physical health.
Totally.
All the research just around how powerful it is to sit down for dinner.
Yeah.
Well, sit down, period. Not eat a burger in your car.
Right.
And sit down with family. There's just so much research on why. Yeah. But I think most people know. They already know.
Yeah.
That would be better. I think a lot of folks maybe feel like they can't for lots of reasons, but
yeah.
It's funny though, that apartment, this sticking with chapter 2 a second longer, that apartment was like the most modern looking thing.
Yeah.
And so I think if we had said like, oh yeah, we're homesteading in our apartment.
Yeah.
Like, that building is 3 months old.
Well, it was beautiful, but it didn't fit with who we are. So then our next...
It's nice to have all new stuff, though.
Yeah, true.
Because our next place... chapter 3.
Yeah, was actually a different apartment building. So because the rent got jacked up on that first property, we were like, we can't afford this after a year. So then we found this really awesome, sweet little... It was I think it had 8 or 12 apartments total in like a U-shape. So there was like a little... like green space out front, and the landlord there was just so wonderful, and we still connect with him to this day. And so we moved in there, and it was an old red brick, wooden floors, creaky stairs, but that was so much more in alignment with where we were at. And we had that green space out front, but then right outside our back door, you reminded me, I totally forgot, but we built some garden beds, and I started growing stuff just right outside our door. Yeah. All I remember was I grew calendula, which is this herb flower, but I just didn't know what to do with it. So I had all these orange flowers, and I was like, oh, they're so pretty, but I don't know what to do with them. I don't. Yeah. What else? Oh, and you said we started composting. Obviously, I forgot.
I don't know.
That
it was one of those cheap plastic things.
Yeah.
I don't even know where it came from.
I think it was just there. Yeah. We were like the only one trying to use it. We were trying
to but it was a total fail.
Yeah.
To attempt to compost.
Yeah, we tried though, and we're still trying. We're still working on composting.
That was the 4 units, because it was 4 and 4 units, so 12 total. But the 4 units that we lived in had like this shared basement, and each apartment had a section of the basement that was theirs. And that was where we got our first chest freezer.
Because we bought part of a cow. From
Marion Acres.
Yeah.
And they sold us the chest freezer and delivered it too. Yeah. Just before they blew up and were super successful. I mean, they were super successful then, but it was still like in its nascency. But I remember they brought it over and like put it down in our little basement storage unit, and then we ran an extension cord.
We were if someone could look at the outside and be like, we're in an apartment, but we were already trying to eat better and starting to try to grow our own food and source locally. Yeah. And I think the other thing, again, that stuck with us and really has stuck with us from the very beginning is making meals together and eating at home. Yeah. And we had that, raggedy old dining room table. And I mean, we still have, like one night a week we watch a movie together, and but even that, we're still eating dinner at the table together. And so I think that's been just a really important undercurrent in our whole marriage. And now with our kiddos, and will forever be. Yeah. So
doing it most nights, because I think it can be easy. I think we do. I think like 80-90% of the time, but I do think it's still helpful to just clarify, like when we say we eat dinner together or whatever.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
100% legalistic about it. Yeah.
Never say no to any activity after 4:30 p.m. because
that's good.
But it is most nights.
Yeah. And this is not to say we're better than someone who isn't doing that. But
Right.
that's just something that we've learned and have chosen to do. And I think it really has been such a gift. And I don't think, I think sometimes we forget the power of just sharing a meal, and it's so simple, but it's so powerful. You have to start where you're at, though. Again, if you're eating all your meals separately, like try one meal, to one meal a night together, and just make it a fun thing to do. But anyway, we can talk more about that down the road.
Two other things at that apartment. That's sort of chapter 3, bread in a bread maker.
Yes.
That was a big one. Not sourdough from scratch, blah, 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 but
I think
still bread in a bread maker.
We wanted to make it from scratch, but I didn't know how to make sourdough yet. And so I bought, it was a used bread machine from a thrift store.
A thrift store, yeah.
Yeah. And it was great. I mean, it was not perfect. You didn't like it?
No, I love it.
Okay.
No, I'm cracking up as we're recalling these things.
I know.
Because I'm just imagining people who are further along being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. But my hope is that other people who are maybe not as far along feel like, I could do a secondhand bread machine from a thrift store.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
now we have homemade sourdough starter, blah, blah, blah. But
well, and the thing about that was like, once you learn how to use it, you just pour all the ingredients in and then it does the work for you. Yeah. So that's a good, if you're again wanting to start with bread and you don't have time for a sourdough, all that, because that can be a lot,
not even don't have time, but just like feel overwhelmed by the prospect of like it. I think one of the things I wish somebody had told me earlier is if the thing you're thinking of feels overwhelming, shrink down the thing you're thinking of.
That's good. Yeah. Start.
If you're thinking 90 minutes of CrossFit every day at a gym, shrink that down. Shrink the thing down until it doesn't feel overwhelming.
That's good.
Instead of like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I can't afford. We can't do that here. Well, can't do that, but shrink it down one. Nope, still overwhelming. Okay, shrink it down.
Yeah, again. I like that. That's good.
Because, and just get it small enough until it does not feel overwhelming. Because if you're buying Wonder Bread from the store, even a secondhand bread machine from a thrift store might sound overwhelming. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Instead of Wonder Bread, maybe the one rack over is the whole wheat bread or something. Right. I don't know. But shrink it down until the thing doesn't feel overwhelming anymore.
That's good.
And I'm guilty of this where we were just talking earlier today about, I can't afford that. But it's kind of a cop-out because I've constructed something giant that, yes, I can't afford.
Yeah.
But instead of shrinking it down to something we can afford or have time for, a lot of times I'll just be like, oh, I can't. So power down the creative problem solving part of your brain. Just turn it off. Yeah. Go about your day.
Totally.
I feel like that's not a super helpful response, which I'm super guilty of, but it's why I know it's not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad you remembered.
Chapter 4.
Yeah. Chapter 4.
Bought a house.
We did.
Kind of.
Yeah. Townhouse.
Half of a townhouse.
Well, it's a duplex. It's a duplex.
Yeah.
That's a house.
I don't know why. Yeah. I grew up, when you say buy a house, it was standalone, not half of a duplex type thing. But such as it was, we qualified for like a first time home buyer, extra assistance thing.
Yeah.
And this was our first time not renting.
Yeah.
Which was I liked it. That did make me feel more free to do stuff.
Totally.
I felt like I could accidentally punch a hole in a wall, not like out of not out of anger, but like we could be doing something and accidentally like break something and not be on the hook for it.
Right. Well, and
like the landlord's not going to call.
We had a yard too, which made it was tiny yard, but it was so exciting.
Tiny, but it was ours.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah.
So it's super tiny.
Yeah.
I built you garden beds out of paving stone things, which is probably a terrible idea, but
we thought it was
the idea. Yeah. It sounded cool. Garden beds. We tried composting again.
Yes.
This time out of pallets.
Yep.
Working for a coffee company, a coffee roasting company. There was always pallets.
Lots of pallets.
Tried again.
Yep.
Failed again.
We did. Did we buy worms? We did. Oh yeah, we
did try worms. Yeah. Vermiculture.
Vermicompost.
Yep. Tried that. Tried planting some fruit trees.
Yeah. Which we then
What happened to those fruit trees?
No, they're still there, I think, but we moved before we saw the benefit of them. But we planted like 3 apple trees from the orchard that was not far, or the nursery. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then
started going to that nursery.
Yeah,
for the
that
first
was like
time.
my favorite. There was a nursery that was like 2 minutes away from our house, and I would drive by it on my way home.
Watching Monty Don
from work. I started to drive. No, but that nursery was like my. So it was like my special place.
Your happy place.
I was like, I just want all these plants.
Yeah.
And then I started growing strawberries in the front yard and flowers and planted lavender.
The front garden bed.
Herb garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, it just like opened up the possibilities. Yeah. And here's another encouragement too. Like our yard was tiny, and we, had one of those blockers because on the other side was the other duplex. So it wasn't like we had all this space, but sometimes it's actually easier to do more when you have a smaller space. I find myself like, as far as gardening goes, it's it's less overwhelming. Yeah. It's way more manageable. Like now that we have all this space, quote unquote, I'm almost overwhelmed by it. But I mean, you just get creative when I had pots on the back porch. We built like archways for viney things to grow over.
The cattle panel archways.
Yeah. So we did a lot there, and we also got our first dog and then our second dog. So, because we were there a couple of years, right? At that place. Yeah, we were there 2.5 years, and we got 2 dogs. By the time we had left, we'd had 2 dogs. So that was always a part of our desire. And the dogs are such a gateway animal drug for anything else. So,
and that was we had the chest freezer out in the garage.
Yeah,
that was the one we got with Sam.
Yeah, we got another grass-fed cow.
Yeah, because even a quarter of a cow felt overwhelming.
Yeah, for just 2 people, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we ended up also kind of on our journey too, working on feeding our dogs raw food.
Oh, yeah.
So we started that as well. So there's all these little seeds that can be planted and grow into little roots. And I think we don't even, as people, we don't realize again how much we're doing. So if you're feeling again discouraged, just start thinking back. It's fun to talk back with even, as we're doing this, like remembering these things that we did this and that, and it's easy to forget. So just to give yourself some credit and encouragement, I think is good. And so then we were living, so this is North Plains, Oregon, and I'm from Wisconsin, and we were feeling like, okay, we really wanted to be back here. And so we decided, our journey to getting here was crazy, but we decided that we wanted to move to Wisconsin, and we did it out of faith, not having a place to live. And this was in 2020. So we had, actually the journey was going to be just a fun little tidbit. I think people would love to hear. The in-between stop from living in Oregon to moving to Wisconsin was actually going to be living in Scotland for 4 months and doing woofing, which is working on an organic farm. And we had that all planned out, and we had the host family. We were going to live in this little bothy there. And we were supposed to leave April of 2020, and then the world shut down. So we had to pivot and ended up still moving out of our townhouse, but we lived with Michael's parents for about 3.5 months before we moved to Wisconsin.
Living with my parents was kind of it's sort of a chapter 5 of the story, because it was long enough, but my parents had just moved out of the house we grew up in and lived, I moved onto a 5-acre kind of homestead farm, but they had just moved there, so they weren't even settled. So it wasn't like a full-fledged homestead at that point either. They had just moved to their 5-acre farmstead, so it was not like fully operational. They had just chickens at that point.
They had just moved, from the suburbs to a property themselves, And also, side note, you'll now notice we have a teddy bear. So our little boy is joining us. It's not a literal teddy bear.
Why do you have a teddy bear?
But he is now here with us. So.
Yep. So that was our last stop before moving to Wisconsin. One thing we skipped over that happened in our second apartment was starting to learn about and observe a Sabbath, which I think is a huge part of
that's good. Yeah,
of living a home-centered life. And
we'll do a whole series of episodes on that because that's huge.
So whether you think of it as a Sabbath or a day of disconnect, or but just a pause in the week, that's a whole separate episode. At first, I hated it. You would think maybe, introverts, of course you would love that. No, I hated it. It was weird at first.
It was weird. I forgot.
And it took some time to actually figure out how to do it, which might sound super weird.
A couple of years, of getting into a rhythm
of consistently one day a week.
Yeah.
Off, phones off, disconnected. And it wasn't even that we got so much pushback. It wasn't like people were like, "Where were you? I was trying to call you." It was more just like, "This is weird. I don't know how to spend this day."
Yeah, yeah.
So it took a long time, which is why that'll be its own separate. But I do think that practice is connected to living a home-centered life.
I'm glad you said that.
So
put that back in.
And that was also a weird thing to observe living with my parents. Because they don't, which is fine. But when you're living with somebody else and you have a very different rhythm, that's just super hard.
Yeah.
That was our last stop before moving to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So we loaded up a trailer.
2 dogs.
Strapped a bunch of totes to the top of our SUV.
Yep.
And moved to Wisconsin. We lived with your sister and her husband, their family, for a little bit.
Couple months, as
an interim.
Hit the ground, we had somewhere to go. And then we moved into an Airbnb for a month. That was actually really fun. And
that was fun.
We realized that, so when you want to live a home-centered life too, it's weird when you don't have your own space.
Yeah.
And so those months, even though we love all the people, it was really hard.
Yeah.
And we really missed having our own space. So the Airbnb was actually really nice to feel we have our own space again. And we just didn't know what that was going to look like. We were moving out of my sister's space in faith, but not knowing where to go next. And then kind of amazingly, my cousin's husband's mom, who didn't live too far from my family here, had just nothing special, but a basement apartment she used to have her farm hands live in, and wanted to charge us $50 a week to live there. And so we lived there for about 4 months. And so it was us and the dogs. And again, at this time, we didn't have kids yet, but you worked remotely for your old job from there. And then I commuted to a job at the time. But that was actually really cool because we knew we were in the state we wanted to be in. We weren't in a beautiful home yet, but all of those rhythms and practices then came with us. And then she lived on, I think she owns 400 acres. And so we got this glimpse of even though we were just in a little tiny basement apartment with only 2 windows, we got this glimpse of this peace and quiet that comes with having space. So we kind of loved it there.
It was a conventional dairy operation that they kind of had let go,
shut down.
Once her husband passed.
But
it was, even though we were again not living the fullness of our dream, catching little snippets. And you had started baking sourdough in our townhouse. I remember you took you had done some stuff before you took that class, but you took a class, I remember. And we carried that with us. A lot of the stuff that you learn, you carry with you to the next place.
Totally.
Which is part of the reason why starting wherever you are is so helpful.
Yeah.
When we were living in that Airbnb, I remember that was when we learned about homesteading. We started watching their how to homestead videos.
Yeah.
And honestly, it mostly just felt overwhelming.
Yeah.
Again, because there's this super common underlying belief, you got to have the 100 acres before you can even start.
Yeah.
And even though I'm pretty sure he said, no, that's not how it is. I still was no, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think in some ways we were homesteading even more in that basement than we were before.
Yeah.
And then a connection of a connection led us to this place.
Yeah.
And even though it's still not perfect, like, that's why I said earlier, we say 16 acres, but then if you come here immediately, you can see it's like actually 1 acre and then woods that are trying to kill us. And of course, if you know how to combat that and you're like, oh, you just need some goats. Yeah, we know.
We're working on
it. Or maybe you don't know that. With goats, we are told, are a good first grazer to combat that a little bit. But it takes time. We had some goats lined up, kind of, but just with being pregnant with baby number 2, and he wanted a reasonable price for what it was, but it was still a lot. And I was like, we just can't. We don't feel like we can pull the trigger right now. Not that we can't, but just it felt overwhelming. Also, that's when our 3rd dog showed up, which I did not expect.
Yeah. But so now we're here. We've been here on this land for almost 3 years in this February or something. Yeah. And part of it is just like God's faithfulness in getting us here. But this place wasn't perfect. We bought it for really cheap because it needed a lot of work, and
it was mid-remodel.
Literally mid-remodel, bought it as is, and we did not do a lot of the work ourselves. We had a lot of family help, and we've done some stuff, but so we're not like super handy people yet. We're working on that, and you're growing in that a lot. But now we do. We started with 10 chickens that we got at 18 weeks. So they were already ready to lay. So we didn't even want to start with chicks.
Them from chicks.
No. So like, again, you're like, oh my gosh, you have 10 chickens. Like, well, we bought them ready to go, basically.
Which is ready a thing you can do that most people don't even know.
They're called pullets, but like 18-week pullets. So I didn't even know what that word meant.
Nope.
So now we have like 56 chickens.
Yeah.
And we want to like start breeding our own. But again, like talking to someone who hasn't even started feels overwhelming. And, we want to get goats and a dairy cow and all the things, but you have to start small. And so, we hope that our journey has been an encouragement to you, and we're still on the journey. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to just journey alongside you wherever you're at, and to not feel like you're far behind or we're way further along. It's just like, no, we're all doing this life together. Yeah. So, yeah,
we wanted to hit record, not because we have it all together and all figured out, but because I feel like we're mid journey.
Yeah.
Like we're doing some stuff.
Yeah.
We're not total fakes.
Yeah. And we're working on doing more.
Working towards doing more.
Yeah.
I think my growing concern as we start to do more and more is that if we waited any longer to hit record, we would be too inaccessible already.
Yeah, that's
to people
good.
Who are trying to start
for sure,
or live in a tiny apartment in downtown like we did.
Yeah,
because a lot of what's out there is those folks are so far along that when you see them, it's like, oh, I just don't even know. They probably never knew what it was like to live in a tiny apartment.
Yeah.
Well,
we did. We did. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us for our conversation today around our 7 chapters of our story leading up to this point. We hope it was helpful to break down our story a little bit. I know we're talking about ourselves in this episode, but the hope in sharing our story is that it's a little bit more clear, the different parts of the story, the different chapters, and the different ways that living a home-centered life have manifested themselves in small ways in random apartments across the country, so that you don't feel like we have this unattainable, unachievable goal that you can't even reach for.
Yeah. If you like this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a zero-cost way to support this podcast.
You can also find us on Apple and Spotify and leave us up to a 5-star review. One of the best parts about the world we live in today is you can help us live a more home-centered life just by subscribing to the YouTube channel and giving us a rating on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, so we look forward to connecting again soon. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your space with us. And we don't want to take that for granted. So we will see you next time as we journey together towards living a more home-centered life.